Hey, Abram. I have a question for you about time and our relationship to time. I recently created a situation whereby I got a bunch of time off work simply because there was things that I wanted to tend to. And I also wanted to feel the expansiveness and spaciousness of having a lot of time to myself. However, what's happened is time now seems to be passing faster. So rather than having a day that seems longer, I now have a day that seems shorter. And so the question is do we have the ability to control our experience of time?
Good words. We wanted to say you have the ability to control your perception of time, because time is really a perceptual thing, as you've just described. Here's the easiest way for you to hear this, or for us to explain it from our point of view. If you think about time in terms of action, time feels shorter because you can only do this much action in this much time. In other words, how many people can move how many wheelbarrows how far in an hour, sort of thing. When you address the subject of time from a vibrational standpoint, you begin to understand the powerful leverage that you have. Because in the same way that we were talking to our friend earlier about the expansiveness of dollars and how you all have the same 24 hours and some earn tremendously and some earn very scantily, and yet it's the same amount of time and effort actually offered. So the leverage of time comes from the alignment of energy. So let's say, even in the way you were approaching this, you said, I set some time aside because I wanted to feel the luxury of an expanse of time, which sounds a little bit like I've been having a time shortage. Most people have a very strong vibration about shortage of time. Now, we've been talking to people for a long time about the subject of dollars, and we've been saying, if you can take dollars out of the equation, more dollars will come to you. In other words, if you can focus upon how you feel rather than counting how many dollars you have or how many are coming today, then your vibration is more in alignment with what you want and more dollars will come.
And so I've managed to do that with dollars.
It's the same thing with time. You have to take time out of the equation. And for example, you have to stop saying, I don't have time. But the way to do that is to think in terms of alignment rather than action, to think in terms of how you're feeling rather than in terms of what you're doing. Esther noticed something the other day. It was a big light bulb lit up in her mind when she came across this. She said to Jerry, I have always enjoyed just about every activity I've ever applied myself to. She likes to cook. She likes to sew. She likes to clean. She likes to put things in order. She likes to write books. She likes to edit tapes. She likes to be a mouthpiece for Abraham. She likes to play with the grandkids. She likes to shop. She likes to drive the bus. In other words, she likes to wash the bus. There just isn't anything that when Esther applies herself to it that she doesn't take pleasure in doing. However, as her energy stream is moving faster and the picture of what she's put over there is shaping up, there are some activities that she has formerly enjoyed doing that don't match up as well. For example, for Esther to get Jerry, she hasn't been able to talk him into it in a long time, to wash the bus with her. There are people who drive around every park who are happy to wash the bus. And so it would just be ridiculous for them to go out and wash their bus. It's big. As Esther applies herself in that sort of behavior, she can feel that it's off because the call of source is calling her in other directions. In other words, she's much happier writing a book than washing the bus, even though it's the same amount of action that's being offered, because writing the book is a better match to the things that are in her vibrational escrow now than washing the bus. You get a sense of it?
Okay.
Washing the bus is not wrong and writing the book not righter. It's that writing the book is more of a vibrational match to what's in her vibrational escrow. So when she thinks about doing the things that are most in keeping with who she has become, the exhilaration is high. And that's the way we want you to take time or money and everything else out of the equation. We want you to do things because of the exhilaration that you feel in doing them. Or, now let's be fair about this, you might not feel exhilaration in the beginning. Do the thing that feels the best. That's how you get yourself lined up. And that's how you find the leverage in time. One who's connected to the stream is more powerful than millions who are not.
I understand that, yeah.
So if you take the time to do the big thing of aligning, it's like a big wheel. And here's this hub in the center of the wheel. And you're just turning it a little bit, but it's turning the wheel really far out there on the edges. So as you're dealing with the energy alignment, you are facilitating yourself in terms of action in a very powerful way. It's huge, huge leverage. But when you don't take the time to line up your energy, then you're out there on the raw and ragged edge, and now you're depending on the paltry benefit that action can give you. And we want you to understand the benefit that action only can give you is paltry. You never intended to create your world through action. You intended to enjoy through action what you had created through thought. That was big. Did you get it? So
Okay.
big.
So you don't align with time, you align with a feeling called getting it done?
Well,
or...
let's talk about it. So here I am. I've been living life, and I have all kinds of things that I want. And they're over there in vibrational escrow. And I've taken some time off from my obligation because I wanted to feel the luxury of time. And when I was thinking about that, that felt very downstream. Oh, I have all of this wonderful time that's unscheduled out there before me. So it's a downstream thought. But today I've noticed that time is really going by, and I haven't really gotten to do so many of the things that I wanted to do. That's an upstream thought. So you just went contrary to your intention relative to time. So then you say, but there's still plenty of time left, and I'm happy that I've taken this hiatus, and it feels good to sort of get a handle on things, and it feels good to be unscheduled because, oh, how I hate to be scheduled. And now you're back upstream again. So then you say, but I don't really mind being scheduled because there's something about being scheduled that does help me to be productive. And I do like being productive, but I don't like to have to crack the whip all the time. I don't like people cracking the whip. I don't want to be motivated by the shortness of time. I want to be called by the flexibility of time. Well, just in that statement, you can feel some of it's upstream, some of it's downstream. I don't want someone cracking the whip, and I don't even want to crack my own whip. I want to feel the power of the universe assisting me. So then look into your experience. Esther said to Jerry during the segment of lunch, they were feeling such appreciation for this group, these wonderful videographers who do so much more than take these pictures, and the wonderful girls that set up the room and get everything ready. It's a very small team that are so well connected and so knowing what they're doing that Jerry and Esther are bowled over by what these four people achieved. And Esther was acknowledging that and feeling the appreciation for them. And in her appreciation of them, she lined up with this energy stream that just brings more clarity, more productivity, more people to assist. In other words, Jerry and Esther can feel that things are swelling all around them, and more dynamic people are necessary to facilitate in the unfolding of all of this. And in her awareness of what is working, more that is working comes into alignment. In other words, you can feel the downstream thought of that, you see. So that's what we're suggesting. Just acknowledge what is working in terms of time. Compliment yourself about your time efficiency as often as you can. And begin noticing how many things are happening that benefit you that take none of your time. Everything is working for you.
Now, in terms of the physics of time, is just at a quantum level, my understanding is that time doesn't move. It's our motion that produces a measurement that we call time.
We think that's an interesting way of putting it, and when you think about it, no one's ever found that big clock out there anywhere. In other words, and so when we talk about time, we think a more productive way to view it is, rather than thinking of time in terms of minutes or days moving by, think in terms of there is me now having this experience, and there is me as I am now, and then there is me having an expanded experience. In other words, this conversation that we've had with you has been unique and leading edge. We've talked about some of this before, but some of what we are chewing over here together has not been chewed over by us or anybody before. In other words, this was some leading edge conversation. So the universe has expanded in terms of knowledge and understanding as a result of this interaction, which means the universe is more now than it was when you sat down. So since it is more now than it was, there is an awareness of something happened, but we want you to think in terms of the expansion rather than in terms of the time passing. So when you begin to think in terms of the expansion, then you're willing to mix it up in order to give birth to the new thought. And then the only reason that we, if we were standing in your physical shoes, would ever factor time in is how much time will it take me to find a better feeling thought? In other words, because you can do that in the moment. Time is so delicious when you are focused in your now and utilizing the time and focus. We want to put time and focus and alignment all in the same sort of mental framework for you. Time is irrelevant because the passage of time. Esther looks at Kate, who is turning 5 in a day or so. And it feels like just yesterday she was not here. And yet she's 5. She is this whole little person with all of her own intentions. Esther can feel the power of her being. And Esther's perception of that 5 years was that long, and Kate's perception of that 5 years is quite different. That 5 years was a long time in unfolding in Kate's perception, but in Esther's perception it was seconds. You see.
Right.
So rather than thinking about time, think about alignment. It will serve you so well. Okay. And then say, whenever you use the label time, use it only to your advantage. Never use it to your disadvantage. So there's plenty of time. I love time. I love time because it helps me focus. I have time to do everything that matters. I love this business of time because it gives us all an opportunity to rendezvous. It helps us to focus our energies. We will meet at a certain time. We will stay for a certain amount of hours. It helps us so much in our cooperative co-creating one with another. It is a mutual focusing spot, but beyond that, it does not serve us in any particular way. We are powerful creators, and the universe is responding to our thought, and I can spend the same amount of time thinking about what I do want or the same amount of time thinking about what I don't want. But when I spend time thinking about what I do want, I line up with my vibrational escrow, and the universal forces come into play, and things begin to happen quickly because, oh, here it is. The time that we want you to feel the power and speed of this stream that is calling you toward everything that you're wanting. And when you get into the flow of that, time is irrelevant because everything is unfolding perfectly for you. When you get crossways of that, time becomes relevant because you're not making progress, you see.